Desire and self-image. We are always acting out some role in life. Why not select the role of a successful person and rehearse it? William Marston. George C. was trained as an engineer and put himself through college, washing dishes, mopping floors, and taking out the garbage in the college cafeteria. At last, he graduated and set out to find a job with his new degree. He sensed that his interviewers were not impressed with him, although he did not understand the reason. Strangely, he felt the same reaction from each interview. Something was surely wrong, but George couldn't imagine what it was. After each rejection, his confidence weakened, and this pattern continued month after month. Still living at home because his part-time job doing dishes could not sustain him elsewhere, George grew increasingly discouraged. Any discerning eye could see in his body language and facial expressions total frustration and complete absence of self-esteem. Listless and without an appetite, George withdrew from the pain of the outside world that had rejected him and spent more and more time brooding in his room. His parents were alarmed, but not understanding the problem, they could be of no help. His mother put the want ad section of the daily paper in his room, but George had lost hope. He couldn't face any further rejections. One day, George saw a television program about a story very similar to his own, and the man had resolved his problem by going to a psychologist. But George had no money. How could he avail himself of this counsel? Continuing to think about it, he remembered that in the classroom next to one of his was a professor of psychology. Drawing upon what little courage he had left, George waited outside the professor's class and timidly spoke to him as he came out. Recognizing at once that George had a problem, he said, "Come along. I'm on my way to the cafeteria. I'll listen over a sandwich." George explained that he had graduated from this college almost a year ago and had worked his way through school here in the kitchen with dishes and cleaning. The professor saw at once that George had identified himself with his work. Although he had a degree in engineering, his self-image was that of a dishwasher. Washing dishes was a worthy occupation, explained the professor, but he was presenting himself in his engineering interviews with the demeanor and attitude of his cleaning job, giving cross signals to his prospective employers. His qualifications were good, but he seemed more like their messenger than the person who had earned them. The professor explained to George that he was lacking in self-esteem, that he didn't feel worthy to work alongside the other engineers. His feeling of inadequacy was obstructing his way. An adult education class was about to begin in a local high school, and the professor suggested that George look into it. It was called self-esteem. George left feeling hopeful and followed through on the night classes. Part of the training included silent identification with a useful and honourable role in life. Soon, he began to see and feel differently about himself. He stood erect and walked tall. He practiced the feeling of having an ideal job and being respected among his colleagues. Continuing his part-time job in the kitchen and doing it as thoroughly as possible, he now identified himself as a highly valuable engineer with a job that he loved. He invested all his free time in rehearsing his new self-image, and in the silence of his mind, he gave full attention to being a great asset to his company. George's parents remarked that he had become a new person, and he noticed that people now treated him with respect. He found that he liked people and enjoyed the camaraderie of new friends. Feeling ready to become involved in his own field, he secured an interview and this time was very well prepared. The week before the appointment, he had invested all his extra time in silently celebrating his new job. Now, he did not mention salary, but only that his heart was set on working for this particular firm, and that he would make every effort to see that his department was exemplary in the company. He had picked up literature and brochures about their activities and was knowledgeable about their products and services. He was spirited and confident, and he sensed that his interviewer was impressed. To be sure, George was engaged as an engineer and has made a noteworthy contribution to his department. Recognizing the creative powers of imaginal experience, George now used it in all aspects of his life. He developed a warm, friendly and effective working style with his colleagues, among whom there is mutual respect and camaraderie. A happy and fulfilled team leader in his company, he has a healthy and harmonious family and teaches them and others how to use the magical powers of their mind to achieve their goals and enrich their lives. Fully 95% of our behavior, feeling, and response is habitual. Healthy self-images do not bruise easily. Maxwell Maltz, MD. End of this chapter.